So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. I want to share with you the best Apple product I've invested in over the past 6 months. So this is a 2018 MacBook Pro, 2018 iPad Pro 11, iPhone XS Max. This is a XS, the smaller version, and this is the iPhone XR. Now, I try to put myself in the perspective of a consumer, someone like you who's buying the device yourself, because a lot of people that are viewing the channel or other YouTube channels look at us as, you know, just, oh, they're just tech YouTubers. Apple's paying them off. Apple's sending. No, Apple doesn't send none of this stuff, at least to me. This is all me. I purchased all this on my own about it. I share this for you guys, you on the camera watching this right now. So like nobody's sending none of this. I just want to put that out there right away. But when I buy these things, even though I technically know that the XS Max is superior to the XR, the XS is superior, technically speaking, the XR is the one out of all Apple products, not just, you know, phones. I know I'm combining them here, but the one I feel like gave me the product that I'm like, okay, this is a product with good value for the money. The iPad Pro got in price increase. This MacBook Pro was near $3,000. This iPhone XS Max, we all know it's one of the most premium priced phones on the market. And the XS is just, you know, rather up there as well for the size of the phone you do get there. The XR has offered incredible value. Allow me to explain why I think this is the best Apple product I've purchased in the past 6 months. The XR is all about value and about the price point for what you get. So do keep that in mind throughout this little, you know, discussion about the best Apple product I've bought in the past 6 months. Now, it's smooth and fast for this price point. When you go to a XS or a XS Max, if you were to use those and trade them in, take them back for a return and get the XR, you wouldn't even notice any decrease in speed. And it's really hard to kind of illustrate the speed because the phone is so efficient. It just feels like things work and they don't feel like it's so mind-blowingly fast, but it's so good that you don't even notice the performance on the XR ever stuttering or anything like that. It's actually as smooth in my experience to the iPad, maybe not quite as smooth as that ProMotion display, but that's really minor. You'll have to really look for that to see it. And definitely probably not as fast as a MacBook Pro, but still it's getting up there near that MacBook Pro. This is the i7, you know, beast model. This is not the cheap entry level one, but it's definitely about as fast as an entry level MacBook Pro. You do have the A12X in the iPad Pro, but again, like I don't really see any difference in performance between the XR and even the iPad. Yes, you have to go ahead and play some games to really stress it and see the difference, but really, honestly, I felt like in the past 6 months, I couldn't stop thinking about how much performance is packed into this $749 phone. You can also find this used now for like $650 on the third party already. So the big screen is still an advantage to the iPhone XR. You can see it right there, just a super large display for the money, definitely in comparison to older iPhones you were getting just a couple years back. Now, the XR is also larger than the S10e, which I do have coming. It's already on pre-order, as is the S10 and the S10 Plus, so stick around for that. But the XR, I did see the S10e in person. Here's some footage. The XR actually still has a bigger display, so that's going to give it a point, although the resolution and quality definitely look better on the S10e, so it's going to be pretty close. Whether you want a little bit larger or a little bit resolution, you're going to have to make that decision. We'll talk more about it as the phones do arrive. Actually quite used to the resolution after a while with the XR. I didn't really even think twice about it until I start comparing it to phones. So when you directly compare it, you see it. When you don't really care. So pretty impressed with the overall size. I thought it was a sweet spot amongst these iPhones. So the iPhone XR, one area that really impressed me and impresses a lot of people is the battery life. Now, it's actually so good that I'm a little bit nervous to update this thing in the future, as Apple has known in the past to make their older phones, I don't know if they're doing it intentionally, but their older phones just seem to get worse battery life as you update them. The SE was like this phone when it first came out. It had an incredible battery life for a small device, like ridiculous, better than some Plus iPhones. As the updates went on, the SE now has some bad battery life in my experience. So I'm really afraid this is going to happen on the XR. I hope it does not happen, but I can say this is the most impressive iPhone battery I've ever seen. And seriously, it's something you don't think about until you have it, but there's no going back. Once you have a phone with this kind of battery life, you're going to really start to take this seriously. As we use our phones so much in this modern era, they basically are all-in-one device. For the most part, this phone is really a stunner in this area. It's actually so good, I think it's pretty close to my Note 9, which is one of the best phones I've seen out there in terms of the battery life. For an iPhone, you can't go wrong here. And although the iPad impressed me with its battery life, it's no better than other iPads. The MacBook Pro gets about 5 to 6 hours in my experience. The XS Max is worse, and the XS over there is also worse battery life. So again, with the value standpoint, the value of the battery life on this phone is more impressive than any improvements on any other Apple product I have seen. Now, I haven't tested Apple Watch Series 4. I'm sure that's better than Series 3, but I didn't even pick that one up this year. Let me know if you guys want to see a Series 4 review as well. It's a good value, I think, in the camera department, definitely a good value, and I feel like you get more than what you paid for. Once again, just because the camera is really good, and even though the 8 Plus is cheaper and it has 2 cameras, this camera is so much better. I don't even miss the telephoto for the 8 Plus. And mostly that comes down to Apple's Smart HDR that was built into this. In addition, the selfie camera is quite extraordinary as well. Even though it's using a pretty small 7 megapixel sensor, it still does a good job with skin tone. So the XR camera really is something that, again, made me feel like good value over, my other Apple products in the past 6 months. Even though these have telephoto, they're technically superior. They were significantly more when the XR is giving me 90% of what these offer. The iPad doesn't have the best cameras. Now, in terms of the audio for the XR, it actually was quite good with those dual speakers. However, these speakers did get a little bit of water in them when I took this phone in the shower. I wouldn't recommend you do that. IP67 here, not as well sealed as like an IP68 phone. So this is good for a splash, or maybe you drop it in the pool for just a second and you want to recover it. It probably wouldn't die out. You can probably dry it out with some rice, but definitely I wouldn't want to get this thing super wet. It's more like just get it a little wet, it'll be fine. Overall though, impressive value of all the Apple products I've invested in the past several months. This is not cheap investments. This one actually feels like the best value of all of them, even though they're different product categories. I know iPad and Mac serve different purposes. They still don't have really cheap items anymore. You got the cheaper iPad, but still, like, the iPad Pro is the one that really offers you the most. The iPhone XR doesn't really take away a lot of the experience of the best of the iPhone. So let me know your thoughts. We will have the S10e coming. Great competitor, I think, to this phone. So stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching. I want to know what you guys think. Be sure to be well. I will catch you all in the next episode, and peace.